else and he stuck it on the thing. Yeah.
We are recording. So, hello listener, this is me, Baleful, and this is
Beamish,
and we are here at Old Nick's house to discuss the, and we're joined also by Darren, who probably won't say much. He was not on the walk, to do the Leamouth Peninsula walk talk. But before we do that, I've just spotted, and I've taken a photo of it, listener, so I'll put that right here on the vid. You should look up at the vid now. This photo in the corner. Who's that bearded man with that delectable lady in the?
Well, that was me
corner?
in 1987 when I directed Bob Geldof. That's the other. That's me there, and that's Geldof Beast there.
That's the Bob.
Yeah.
And what was the song?
It was an AIDS information film. I decided to do something, and he very stupidly agreed.
Right, who's the lady that you were in the other?
That's
photo?
El Glenoa, who worked at Technicolor. She was on the counter. I used to deliver stuff, and she said, "Oh, I've always wanted to produce and blah blah blah." She did a very good job, but I had to amass some money, like to make the prints, 35mm prints. The censorship you had to pay to go to the censor to have it registered. She went off with the proceeds. Went to a holiday in Spain.
Oh, she
really?
ran off with the proceeds.
But people were, so and so. Everything was paid in the end, but it wasn't ideal.
So this is a film that you made.
35mm film.
what was it called?
Geldof on AIDS. I don't think it's even on the YouTube or whatever, but it was shown on Channel 4 on the media show, Muriel Gray.
Oh, I think I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and it was shown at the independent Remain Hearts screen on the green screen, and the screen. What's the other one? Electric Cinema.
Yeah.
But the circuits wouldn't take it. ABC and Rank said it's too. He swears in it. You see.
Right.
No. It's only a minute long.
Well, that tells you a little bit about Nick's background, that he's involved in film and stuff like that. Maybe some more of that will come up during the talk. Just to make sure I've got the recording volume. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, so let's begin the walk talk. It's Leamouth Peninsula walk. Now, where did we meet? Does anybody
Canning
remember?
Town.
Canning Town Station.
Yes, and there was some difficulty with the various exits. And you two got there first, and I was waiting at the wrong exit, and so I had to go.
Well, you say that we got there first. Nick got there first. Then you got there. Then I got there.
That's right, yeah, that's right. Because I came out, Nick was there.
Nick saw you.
We're getting into the
Yes,
oh my
no,
God!
everything
What
is
colour
discussed.
socks were
Everything
were
is
you
discussed.
wearing? Oh my
Everything
God!
is discussed.
Dear, oh dear.
So there, I had to come across through this part of the
You
station.
actually arrived first. Nick was behind you.
Right.
That he
Nick
did.
saw
He
you.
arrived first.
And anyway, I had to take a lift down and across, and then another lift up. And I was waiting out there for not very long, and then Nick turned up.
I would say, as an overall observation, that's not your fault. It's just bad signage on all these blooming transports. Bad signage. They talk about the customer journey. They certainly make the customer go the long way round often, It's bad.
I would lay the blame squarely at the foot of Mr. Walks. I forget his name right now, because going by the introduction to this one, he's also got a team working with him now. And so why doesn't he, at the beginning, explain
The difficulty.
which exit you should be using? And he doesn't.
It's pretty straightforward, isn't it?
He does not.
If you're writing a book about it, you might as well get the facts right.
Yes.
He does say exit to see the waters of Bowe Creek to the south, but that's not, specific enough. So anyway, the three of us convened there, and then we were still waiting.
We were waiting for our...
a female.
Yeah.
We won't. She's not here, so we won't say her name. Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is for public consumption. I mean,
We won't say her name. We'll call her Miss
what? Why?
X.
It's a bit weird.
We'll call her Miss X. 'Cause
It's
she's not
delightful
here.
woman.
Well,
You're writing. This is Stalin
You say
writing people out
delightful.
of history. Or
no, I'm going to Miss X.
Okay. Well,
She's not here.
it's your show. Yeah.
She's not here, so we won't say her
Yeah.
name.
Well, I mean, people. This is going on the airways. People talk to people. I think it's a little bit strange, but it's up to you.
Well, we'll find out what happened later on in the walk, and then this will be apparent why.
Okay,
we
okay.
might keep this bit.
Okay. I see. I
Hush,
wasn't.
hush.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
I think Miss X is. If somebody could refer to me as Mr. X, I'd be like, I'm alright with that.
Yeah. Well, no, they always say that, don't they? If you're not there to represent yourself.
Yeah, she's not here to stand up for herself. Because I am.
Who's
going
to know?
excoriate.
Who's to know?
No, I'm not.
Who's to know?
I'm not going to excoriate her.
Anyway, she arrived.
Anyway, she was the last to arrive.
Yeah.
She arrived.
And the walk began.
Before she arrived, you were telling a funny story about some cheesy skinned woman.
Oh no, this was my my I say is my stepdad. Not really. He's just been going out with my mum for a long time. But when when my parents first divorced, and she got with him, his mother used to come over, and she would try and ingratiate herself to me. She wanted to, because you have to remember at the moment, my parents split up. My mum left my dad for this other guy, and then this other guy, mother, suddenly appears and wants to be, wants to kind of get on and everything, and I was having nothing to do with it. So I was just completely dismissive, didn't want to speak to her, just didn't talk to her at all. Anyway, she came over the next year she came over again, and I remember she came up to me and she goes, "Simon, we're going to be friends this time. We're going to be friends this time." Right, yeah, my stepdad is from Alabama, like deep south of America, and he goes, "Simon, we're going to be friends this time. Care for some gum?" And she offered me like a bit of gum, as if like this is going to be like this is going to make everything alright. And I can't remember, but anyway, she was living for a while at my mum's house, and she was living downstairs, and we used to call her Parmesan Woman because just she had this kind of weird aroma. And
Oh God.
So
that was the
cheesy lady. Now, so then, this walk is 2.2 miles. It starts and finishes at Canning Town Station. Now he says in here, the author of the book, he says, "This walk explores one of the most isolated parts of London, and much of it is spent walking by the water and around the two peninsulas that stretch out into the River Lee and Bowe Creek. It starts at Canning Town Station, where you exit to see the waters of Bowe Creek to the south, and behind you an undeniably horrible mass of road, rail and other transport-related infrastructure." Now, I didn't really see that. Behind us didn't seem
I
to be...
noticed it. Yeah,
Oh, you
it's
did?
liminal space or whatever.
Also to the south, over the water, are the looming towers of London City Island. This is a recent development that has changed this part of London forever, and bills itself as a 12-acre micro Manhattan. Do we agree with that?
was that where the ballet place was? The ballet.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, yeah, very, very condensed.
I didn't get a Manhattan vibe.
No, it was tiny, really.
Anywhere on this wall.
Well, there was a few skyscrapers. That was it.
Well, just the distance, just the idea of Canary Wharf. You know, as you know, when you've done a Canary Wharf walk, haven't you?
Yes.
Leaden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
on it.
Oh, that's an
No,
interesting
no,
point,
oh,
actually, to make that in the background was the silhouette of Balfron Tower,
Oh,
which
yes.
is the twin of Trellick Tower, which featured on the Notting Hill walk, which Miss X joined us on that walk as well.
And you used to live in that tower?
I lived in Balfron, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to hang out at Balfron as well.
Yeah.
What was it like to live in?
I lived on the top floor, which had incredible views, it was part of like a housing, like a housing co-op thing for artists, and
Fantastic.
yeah, I had a few great years there.
Really good.
Is it because you haven't turned it off?
Okay, anyway, this is strange coming up. I haven't seen that before, but yeah.
Just having a phone malfunction, dear listener.
The other one, to turn it off if you want it silent. Just.
It's all part of the ambience.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so Balfour.
You might edit that bit out. I
Yeah,
don't know.
well,
I'm joking.
we
That's
normally
a
just
joke.
keep it
That's
all
a
in.
joke.
We normally just keep it all
Oh,
in.
seriously?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to edit it. I'm so sorry. Otherwise,
If you want that bit specifically out, we'll take it out.
please. I mean, that was nothing. That's dead air.
Yeah, we'll take it out. Now, he says, before you, or when I say he, I generally mean the author of the book.
But we turned it off.
Hello.
Can you hang up, please, whoever you are?
We did turn it off. You see.
Is that the telly?
What was that?
It's complete. Do not disturb is on now. But anyway,
Can you not hang up the phone?
Sure.
well, I thought I did, but Darren will excoriate.
Bizarre.
What was that word you said?
Excoriate.
I've never really heard. What's it mean?
It means to tear somebody
Right.
apart, like.
He's tried it many times, so you can
So you
fuck,
do
fuck,
it
go
like
and fuck
verbally,
himself,
or you
really.
can do it physically.
Yeah.
To excoriate a person.
Yeah.
Usually they use it as in like like I tore a few strips off of that person. But it's more than that. It's like I
Yeah.
excoriated their
Well, it
personality.
must have an effect on him. These things bounce back. I believe in karma, really.
Yeah.
What's your verdict on that then? Have you diagnosed why it just didn't? I didn't turn it off properly or something.
You didn't hang up, and Alan didn't hang up either.
Ah, okay.
No one
That
hangs
could have
up.
been a long
The continuity goes on.
permanent conversation.
He says before you start walking, look back towards the station. Until the 19th century, the area now called Canning Town was largely covered by boggy marshland. Then there was the rapid industrial development of Leamouth Peninsula, with shipbuilders' docks, chemical, iron and glassworks, all needing to be connected to the railways. Thousands of the workers came to live here near their place of work, and speculators built row upon row of terrace houses to accommodate them. The area is thought to be named after Lord Canning, a Governor General of India, who was also involved in the suppression of the Indian Mutiny in the 1850s. He talks about the working class narrow terrace streets occupied by the working class, who frequented the dozens of local pubs. They also visited the Royal Albert Music Hall, opened in 1875, that could hold 2,500 people. That's pulled down in the 60s to make way for the busy flyover and other roads you see today. A community lost to history. From the station, follow the map, passing the footbridge leading to River City. And we go down a meandering stretch known as Bowe Creek. And then, where did we find ourselves? Does anybody remember?
I remember doing that walk by the canal.
Bowe Creek Ecological Park.
Ah, yes, that's right. There was like a little plaque up with various species of birds.
I thought that was lovely.
Mm.
The Ecological Park.
Lovely. It was. It's delightful.
This strange place in the shadow of a DLR bridge is one of the most secluded spots in London. He says he's been here on 3 occasions and only met one single dog walker. This peninsula has never been occupied for residential purposes. So, if you're looking for hidden London, this marooned piece of land may well hit the spot. Now, this gave me high hopes for the walk. I thought it was very lovely. We stumbled, it had an Arcadian, Albion type feel.
Mm.
we walked around it. There was that strange girl doing her pop video there.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes. Glittery, whatever, just in the middle of nowhere.
Well, you have
just
to. This was on Halloween, wasn't it? So
was it? Of
lots
course.
of people wandering around in fancy dress.
Oh
Yes.
yes, very
I just took that as read, really, because
It
Dr. D was
Ah,
involved.
and we haven't stated that I was debuting my pith helmet. But that
Yes.
needs to be stated
Yes.
from the off.
Yes.
That needs to be stated
Yep, the
from
pith
Well, it was.
helmet.
It went
had
without
its,
saying,
first
really.
airing.
Well, to us.
And how did that feel to wear the pith helmet? Did it give you extra authority?
It felt good, but annoying at the same time because I had a big jacket on with a thing and it was rubbing against that. If I'm dressed as I am now, it would be much more. I'm not used to hats anyway. It was my first hat. I was advised that I should get a hat. That was my choice. I'm happy with it. I saw Panos in it the other day, so it's very, very cool. If it looks cool on him, then it must look cool on me.
Did look cool on you. It's fantastic.
And this was a park where there was always signage for strange little animals and stuff that you should be looking out for.
Like Captain Spaulding, really. Yeah.
Captain Spaulding? Who's he?
Marx Brothers, Groucho Marx. We had a pith helmet.
Oh yes. Cause remember, I mentioned that like before you bought it because there's two different styles. There's like a tall.
There's the British one.
Yeah, the British
I didn't
one.
know that.
The British one is, and he had to get not the British one.
Because the British one's too. It's too much of a statement.
What, too comedic?
No, it's too.
What's
cool.
that series? 8.5 Hot Mum.
He wears a French one in there.
Oh right, okay.
Wow.
He doesn't wear the British one. The British one is
Very
in the
specific,
Zulu
isn't
film,
it?
but it's too stylish. It's too cool.
Too cool.
Yeah, it's too cool. Whereas the French one, you can.
Too cool for comfort.
The French one's got a little bit of a comedic edge to it.
Yeah.
It's more casual.
Right.
But the British Army one is like. It's like fucking hell. That is too. It's too cool for school. But I will probably get one while the money's come flooding in.
I think Michael Caine didn't wear them in Zulu.
I would imagine so. I just can't remember really. He was wonderful in the film. Yeah.
I feel like you guys don't have too much to say about the park. Except for it was a nice. We agreed it was a nice.
Lovely.
I'm trying to
Just
kind of think back, and it was. Yeah, it was. I was surprised to find that it was so secluded because it didn't. There was nothing really there to kind of suggest that it was that tucked away. It just looked like an ordinary piece of land.
Well, when you look at it in the map that he provides here, and you see how it looks from space, like this.
Yeah, I mean, probably geographically, if you study it, it is. But when you're actually in the middle of it, you could be anywhere, really.
Yeah, you don't realise. This is, But he's just
Peninsula, I suppose. Yeah.
He's just told you. So he says at the time of writing, the very southern tip of the peninsula. Oh, that's not important. So then we walked around that, and then we came up and we found ourselves at a footbridge called the Blue Bridge. Do you remember the Blue Bridge?
Yes, I remember. And there was one next to it. It was like half built. It's like
Yeah.
It's like only just came out a little bit, but it was a lot older than this Blue Bridge.
No, the Blue Bridge was very new. The old one was kind of a ruin.
Yeah.
The Blue Bridge looks like it's made out of children's Lego.
Yeah, it has a Lego thing.
Yeah. I liked it. Let's see if he's got anything else to say about it. He doesn't really say anything about that. On the left, roaring traffic until you find the path again that goes right beside the water. Been gone for a few minutes. From my East India Docks. The former site of the mighty East India Docks complex that once dominated Blackwall. London was once the largest port in the world, and during the 19th century ever larger docks were opened to cope with the increasing size of ships and growth in international commerce. The East India Dock Company was founded in 1803 and financed by the company of the same name, that then monopolised trade with India and most of that with Asia and the Far East. At the time, the East India Company was the single most powerful private commercial enterprise in the world, and arguably remains unequalled in its power even by modern day behemoths including Amazon and Apple.
I told you I used to live in Balfront Tower, a lot of the signage and street names are named after East India.
Dock. Places
The
in
East India Company.
Right. The East India docks offloaded the company's ships carrying goods such as silk, Persian carpets, Chinese tea and Indian spices sourced from across the empire. Walking by the water, it's worth noting that if you had stood here in the mid-19th century and looked over to your right, you would have seen over 250 tall-masted sailing ships. The spot marked 4 on the map indicates what would have been the eastern side of the biggest of the 3 docks here, called the Empire Dock. By the time Victoria ascended to the throne, the various privately owned London docks were caught in a vicious spiral of competition, which impacted their profits. The East India docks were forced to merge with their great rival, the West India docks, in 1838. You do get a lot of infrastructure sometimes in these. Seems like the infrastructure is hard to keep it interesting. People tend to like the pop star ones. They seem, but I feel like it's a manly tribute to understand infrastructure, and I am doing my damnedest.
Yeah, but wasn't this the
my bloody damnedest?
Wasn't it at this point? Wasn't it at this point the first seed of frustrations overcame you? Because Nick was telling me about Harry Enfield, and you took umbrage to this.
The Harry Enfield happened in the Albion Park. It was exiting the Albion Park.
Oh, right, okay.
That's where Harry Enfield grew up. It wasn't so much. It was I was constantly having to say, "No, look, we're all friends here." So
I don't know.
you
I never assume, never presume.
You can walk and talk at the same time. It's just every time you wanted to talk, Miss X or anybody, it just seemed to everybody would stop to have this talk. Whereas I'm trying to keep a nice tempo going.
Yeah.
I thought we were walking and talking. We weren't.
No, I had to keep
Right.
constantly saying.
Right. Okay. Well,
It's all coming out now.
Yeah.
We said that, dear listener, before we even started. It's all going to come out.
So yes, there was a frisson in the air.
There was an edge, but it wasn't like a horrible
Something in the
one.
air.
It wasn't,
But you didn't see. It's called the Love Box in the Living Room. It was kind of one of the most tasteless comedies I've ever seen.
The Enfield.
Yes.
But what
With
made
Paul
you
Whitehouse.
think of Enfield at that particular
Because you're probably
point?
talking about Enfield and Lock. I don't know. Might have said one of his catchphrases or something. I don't know.
You said you'd been watching something the night before,
That would be it.
and that's it.
I mean, I don't like Harry Enfield that much.
No, but it
I
reminded.
don't know why we're going on about
it
fucking Harry Enfield.
No,
You know, this is getting so much publicity for a second-rate comedian.
No, but it reminded me of
Third-rate.
because you mentioned Harry Enfield. It reminded me because that very around the same time on Channel 4 they'd done like a update of. Do you remember Saturday Night Live? With Ben Elton?
Yeah.
We had this Ben Elton talk. We were talking about Ben Elton and Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
And it made me think of Stavros. Remember Stavros?
There! It's all your fault.
Stavros, loads of money.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was his catchphrase, isn't it? Loads of money.
Loads of money was a separate character. Stavros.
Well,
was,
all right, separate character,
Yeah.
but the same actor, but Harry Enfield.
Yeah. But
What was Stavros'
Stavros was a
catchphrase?
Greek.
Hello everybody.
Hello,
peeps.
everybody.
Hello, peeps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a kebab guy. He worked in a kebab shop. And I felt that I should mention that I'd seen this Saturday Night Live thing.
Yeah.
Because
I think it had to be said.
yeah, because you started talking about Harry Enfield.
Oh, I did. I thought you started talking about stuff.
Well,
Who knows?
That's lost in the mist of
Yes.
time. But
You'll have to take one of these police video things, on your shoulder. Just everything's. No, you said.
Uncle
And
on
you
my
said-
shoulder is an old English phrase.
A what?
Uncle on my shoulder.
Never heard that before.
It's an old English phrase. You wouldn't have
What's
heard
it
it
mean?
unless you were around, 1,000 years ago.
Did they had uncles 1,000 years ago?
Yeah.
They're called uncles.
Yeah,
Okay.
but they'd often end up murdering their uncles and stuff like that. It was a very brutal time.
Oh,
I had Ben Elton's album Motormouth, and I was saying, like, you listen to it once and then what? I mean, it's hardly like a classic of comedy where you must
Why
listen to it
why
over
did you
and over
buy it?
again. I don't know. I had a gift token for Christmas, and I couldn't think of it. I'd grown out of hip hop, and I was sort of in an in between spot of and there it was in Woolworths.
Derek and Clive live.
Oh, I've got all the Derek and Clives in my later years. Yes, of course.
It's not a patch on Derek and Clive, is it? Motormouth, is it?
Do you know what? I can't remember any. And I bought his first novel as well, Stark.
Oh yes.
I haven't read any of his novels. Don't know.
I think I tried to read it. Yeah.
And then he ended up doing Queen, the most capitalist band ever's musical.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
right,
Now
because
he's sort of disappeared out of
No,
sight.
but he came back to do
No, he
crawled
wrote
under his
fucking
stone.
wonderful. He wrote the Blackadder with
No,
Bennett.
the
wasn't it?
Blackadder is pre the Queen musical.
You were just saying, well, he didn't do. I thought your implication
No, I'm
was he
saying
did that.
he
And
had a
then, so what?
trajectory, and
Yeah.
he had a trajectory.
Yeah.
And then he did the Queen musical, and then
Right.
he sort of scurried off under his stone, and you haven't heard from him since, have you?
Well, and apart from this thing that I was talking about, it was like a reunion. It was like a
Ah.
Saturday Night Live reunion. That's what it was. But they're all,
Circle.
of course, they're
They're
all a lot
all
older
ballers.
now, So Harry Enfield, looks different.
I watched half of it anyway.
Yeah.
Mm.
Now, here, the next thing we saw was the walls of the former docks on both sides. Look out for the stick and snake badges, which represent trade and medicine. Do you remember that?
Yes, the serpent.
Miss
So
X was
the-
particularly taken with that. I have photographs of her looking at it, which are.
I do have photos on the camera if we
Mm.
need, but don't do it. You don't need me to make that effort. No. Yeah, they were good. But she thinks it's all fucking, Illuminati secret.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
we're all entitled to our opinions.
I wasn't saying it's a pejorative. I'm just
No.
putting that in. That's what. Whereas,
Okay.
it's just a symbol of medical and. To me,
Yeah,
it's just
Caduceus or something.
Yeah.
the reptilian.
I wasn't being. I wasn't making. I wasn't making a pejorative. I'm not going to make any pejorative statements.
No.
She's only under a pseudonym because he's not here. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She hasn't consented to be.
Anyway.
Right.
Anyway, we crossed over there. But yeah, we went
Walk
through
back to the roundabout where you're surrounded by evidence of the mass regeneration of the area beginning in the 1980s after the old dock closed. The best known development is at Canary Wharf to the west of here, which has thrived as a modern rival to the old City of London. By contrast, Canning Town is one of the most deprived areas of the country. They call it a mini Manhattan in one breath, and then at the other hand, he calls it one of the most deprived areas of the
No,
country.
it is a poor area. I mean,
It's a bleak area,
yeah, it's pretty bleak.
That's Darren.
but poor area. I know far.
I think it's
far
poor,
poorer.
compared to Kensington or something like that. It's poor. Yeah.
Now walk down Blackwall Way at and then bear left, sign for the East India Dock Basin. Do you remember? This is where I hid in a bush.
Yes,
You
no, this
guys
is the
were walking
point, yes.
so slowly. I gave me the time to hide in a bush.
Yeah. And we came to this area. What was it called? It was the bird spotting area.
Yeah. And I jumped out of the bush, and I don't know about you, but it's frightened out of his skin.
Oh, I missed
He's
all
frightened
that.
out of his wits. He
So would you like to talk to our leader about that at
well,
all?
To be honest, I don't actually remember that, but it was
We got to this spot, which was it had these two giant great. It was right on the river, and it had these two giant great.
the things that you tie ships
Oh,
to.
boller, like capstans.
I guess.
Capstans.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Capstans.
But this is where Beamish.
Because there was a cigarette packet with one of those on it. It's called capstans.
Beamish had
Capsule
forgotten.
full strength, yeah.
Beamish had forgotten his vape.
Vape, yes, and we thought it was time for a kind of light refreshment. So Miss
And
X,
then this is where the
Old Nick.
yes, we thought it would be a simple little trot and a so and so, but then the catalogue of
Br-
disasters.
but Old Nick brilliantly, and to his credit, his eternal credit, asked the passerby, "Is there a shop around here?" Because it did look scant on the shop
It
side.
did. It did.
It looked like nothing. There was no shops. there was
Desolate. Desolate.
just Desolation road.
Yes.
But you got the intel.
Yeah.
And then volunteered yourself and this ex to go and
Yeah.
get provisions.
Yeah, it seems simple. You should have been there. We should all have gone, really.
So, but what happened exactly?
Just, I mean, I don't
45
know.
minutes later.
I mean, there was something that I thought, oh well, there's a guy with a delicatessen counter or something, and I thought whatever it was that we needed as part of it. I think it was tea actually. I thought, well, I'll just get a cup of tea, and so he had a little kind of thing with blah blah blah, and you know, and this. Oh, and I just have one of them, and then it's okay, and then and I need that warmed up, and so on. So, you know, I'm British. I don't push ahead or anything like that. You just wait and wait and wait. And then Miss X came over and said, "Well, you know, there's a tea and coffee machine there." Oh, I didn't know. You see, so okay, but that took about 10 minutes or whatever. It took a while to find the place. It wasn't just next door.
Well, meanwhile, we were waiting.
You must have been pacing up and down.
We were thinking like, oh, that was a bad decision. We should have just carried on.
Yeah.
And
we were considering either killing ourselves.
Yes.
Or just going on with the walk, assuming that you were both dead. You know.
Yeah. Oh no, you must have been. Well, you were fuming, but you were pleased. We provided the goods when we got back.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was such a joy to.
Although then suddenly this posh whiskey was.
No, it's brandy.
Was it brandy?
Oh, she provided.
Yes.
I didn't
Miss
like
X.
it.
You didn't like the brandy. Well, that's
No.
it. Then that's all right then.
It had this sort of milky. I
Oh,
said,
God.
this is woman's brandy.
Oh dear.
It
It's
was
Martell.
like drinking
That's
milk.
Martell.
It's a lovely
That's
brandy.
a lovely brandy. Yeah.
But to me,
You like the cheapo stuff.
I like when if I'm drinking a spirit, I want something that kicks you in the fucking throat. You know that you've drunk a spirit.
Yeah.
It gives you a boot in the fucking throat. You know.
The only one I know that does that is Gordon's Gin.
Well, try some of this Bells. You know that gives you a little boot in
There's
the
some
throat.
gin there. Peel Park. I mean, what the hell is that?
Bells is a good example.
Made from old
It's a
socks
good,
or something. I don't
I
know.
have a little shop.
Yeah,
I know
gives you-
Kendrick's.
This digs its heel into your throat.
Yeah, it's like cheap
Yeah,
spirits.
yeah, it
You
is.
get that kind of.
That's from Mike's.
Oh really?
Yes.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Gives you that.
Here in spirit, if not in.
In spirits.
That's your opinion. So anyway, it was a lovely corner of the world, wasn't it, to sit in?
Yeah, no, because we haven't.
Gorgeous.
Ah!
Idyllic.
Now I must bring this point up. You, Old Nick, had purchased the strangest crisps in town.
Mushroom crisps.
Mushroom
flavoured
crisps.
crisps.
Never before or since have I
Well,
seen
I
those.
eat them on a regular. There's a Russian shop.
Really?
You know, there's a Russian. You know the Hare pub
All right.
opposite the Hare.
Yeah.
There's a Russian shop.
Yeah.
I've
It's
never
all
heard
coming
of it
out
before,
now.
never heard of it
No.
before.
I've been buying mushroom crisps from that
Why
Russian shop
didn't you tell us?
ever since I lived in Bethnal Green.
Good God.
Kept it to yourself, nice little secret you
Yes.
had. This was the first time they'd ever turned
Well,
up.
first time for us.
Okay.
Are they nice?
They taste
Lovely.
like mushroom.
They're lovely.
If you
I like
mushrooms,
I like mushrooms.
you'll like these crisps.
Yeah.
I like them.
They are.
I
nice.
say
I like
that.
all kinds of mushrooms.
I like mushrooms.
Yeah.
Oh, are you hinting at magic mushrooms there? I mean,
All kinds of mushrooms.
Can you get magic mushrooms?
Me personally,
Look,
I-
Kev.
not that I'm aware of.
But you can identify them. Yes.
That's a conversation for another day. So anyway, this was now. I don't know about anybody else, but there's a connection here happening. The shape of my pith helmet and the mushroom.
Oh, never thought of
Crisps.
that one.
Yes. But that will come on.
Never
There'll
thought of
more
that one.
later. Yeah.
More of that later. Now then we finished up there and we wended our way, didn't we? We wended our
did.
way along the path.
Yeah.
But we saw on that path, in the distance, a tower block.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, well, we got quite a long way along. This strange building that again looked like it was made out of children's Lego.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this not mentioned in the book, by the way, is it?
No, he doesn't mention
Just,
it. in
we're
the
going
book. No,
out.
he
We're
doesn't.
going off topic here.
Yeah.
Nick said that is Jerry Anderson's house.
No, I didn't.
Didn't you?
No.
Where did the Jerry Anderson connection come from?
I'm sure
No, I don't know because
No,
you're
no.
you.
Well, he came into the convent. I just said it's out of some. Looks like something out of Thunderbirds. It's sort of had that.
Yes, somebody said something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, which started a Jerry Anderson anecdote by yourself.
Oh well, I mean that's my father used to work with him when he was making commercials, Anderson, and for APF Films, based in Taplow. What?
No, you just keep. I'm gonna.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll keep going. So background atmos effects
Yeah.
were coming in, noise. Okay, oh no, cool. So so they did commercials, and then APF. It was Anderson Provis Films. Arthur Provis was the P in APF. He kept going with the commercials, and then Anderson went on to start whatever it was, Four Feather Falls.
Yes, because I'd seen that. When you mentioned that, Four Feather Falls, I'd seen a clip of it for the first time. I'd never seen it before. But it was like the Western.
What is
that was
Feathered Falls?
Four Feather Falls.
Four Feather Falls, like F-A-double-L.
Like it's a place. Imagine it's like a place.
Little American
Oh,
Western.
A Western.
It's like
puppet
Western,
show.
yes,
Cowboys,
like a Western
yeah,
Jerry Anderson, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'd never heard of before.
No.
But surprisingly, you just mentioned it.
And there's also, Roberta, Torchy. Now you see,
Torchy, the battery boy.
the battery boy, but I'm a little bit hazy there because Roberta Povey or someone was involved with those shows, and I might be confusing them. It's all about the same time. So Space Patrol, that was her. So I do get them a little bit, that have to be looked into if anyone's that interested. But yeah, so as a teen, 11-year-old or whatever, my brother and I were given a tour of the Thunderbird studios.
Right.
But through my dad, that was
But there was some connection with that building and Jerry Anderson, right?
that was bollocks. I just said that. Absolute piffle. Oh, people. You're walking along, you're having a few drinks. No,
I
that's
thought you were
rubbish.
talking. I thought it was like gospel truth.
No. Be careful.
But interestingly enough,
Yeah.
So your father worked with Jerry Anderson up until what point? Did he work on Thunderbirds?
Not at all. Well, now there's a thing just a case in point. In my local town, Maidenhead, was a company called Caravel Films, and one of Dad's close friends was Johnny Alder, who was a camera doctor for Technicolor. He'd go on to epics like El Cid, for example.
Right.
And if there's any problems with a Technicolor camera, he'd be the go-to man, kind of thing.
Right.
And he was a close friend of my dad's.
What was your dad's name?
Leo Waller.
Leo Waller.
Mm.
Right. Okay.
So they had he had a son called Nick Alder, and he was again a friend of our family. Nick, I remember. I saw it. It collapsed on the kitchen table. I don't know whether I saw him or my mum was telling, but he had his head on the kitchen table. He was working for Caravel Films. I remember going round there, and he was blacking in the logo for Panorama. He had the logo for Panorama,
Right.
white on black, the kind of world.
Oh, right.
And he was slowly, stop frame, he would black out a bit, black out a bit, black out a bit, stop frame.
And you'd watch him do this?
Some of it. And then, of course, in the finished thing, the whole thing would appear.
Yeah.
This is
Because
before.
when you said you found him blacking out on the table, I thought you meant he was like, I've had lots of life.
Oh, no, he just had enough of filmmaking. He just had enough. And my mum gave him a pep talk.
Right.
And he won the Oscar for the effects on Alien, anyway, eventually.
Oh, really?
Nick Alder, yeah. And his wife had this little baby Oscar round her, little mini Oscar round her neck.
Film.
Just in case anyone didn't.
Alien's my favourite film of all time.
Ah.
It's my fun. I think it's something else we could possibly. Having seen it on the big screen, it's like watching it, and it's like Apocalypse Now. When you see that on the big screen, all your life you've watched them on the small telly or whatnot. When you see them on the big screen,
Yeah.
it's like a whole new film.
Do you want to hear my Alien story?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, at the time, things were going pretty well. I was making trailers, leaping to another point in time, but I was making trailers for feature films and stuff, for National Screen. And also, I interviewed Sandy Lieberson, who was head of 20th Century Fox at the time, because he produced Performance. I'm writing a book about Nick Rogue. So that was the thing. The interview went well. He actually agreed to produce a project. I completely screwed it up. God knows what I did, but it just didn't happen in the end. It was to do with 2001. But, because we both knew Arthur C. Clarke, and anyway, that was just a project that just never happened. And he said, "Oh, got this thing, it's just coming out, do you want some tickets for it? It's a space thing, Alien." Yes, great. So he gave me a ticket, and unusually, so I was working, and this thing came in for The Kids Are All Right, The Who, and they needed this trailer urgently, so I had to work over the weekend. I wrote it, whatever, produced it. It's a nominal thing, but I really, the editing was all, what next, Nick? What next? What next? What next? That's how you work with the editors for the trailers. Anyway, mostly they would they were seasoned professionals, and they would just do their own thing, and the results were superb. But in this case, it was someone that was kind of early days for him as an editor, and he just wanted me to dictate as a time pressure. It was, okay, I'd seen the film a few times on the Steenbeck, and then, okay, right, what shots do you want, kind of. And that was on the company showreel, actually, as the 10 best things they'd done. But anyway, I couldn't go to the showing of Alien, but I had given a ticket for the press show or something, a separate one, at the Dominion Theatre. That's now it was the Ben Elton thing, wasn't it, with the Queen musical and whatever. It was a cinema at some stage, and it affected me so much that I went out to the Horseshoe pub, which was just down the road, and had a few pints, because I can't take the shocks in this film, you see. And probably after the Joan Hurt thing, something, I said, no, I can't.
Oh, so you didn't see the whole film?
No, I couldn't take it. But purely because I was reading the trade papers at the time. It wasn't something I'd really be doing, but like national, anyway, Screen International, something like that, Variety, whatever things. So I was aware of what Ridley Scott looked like. I mean, most people wouldn't at that time really have known him from a bowl of cornflakes.
Yeah.
But I knew what he looked like. I remember him. Photo. So I went back into the cinema, hoping that I'd just see the end credits kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And it was still, you could see the shock waves of stuff rippling through the audience, and it would just go back and back. So I was slumped against a radiator at the back of the theatre, hands over my head. And then this white suited figure kind of walked past. It was Ridley Scott, you see. And so in the lobby, he was just walking ahead of me, and I went, "Ridley, yes!" And he jumped up. I said, "Well, it affected me so much I couldn't take it." "Oh, thank you very much." So that was my Alien. I gave him a shock.
You gave him a shock.
As long as I heard a thing about Ridley Scott. When John Hurt's looking at the eggs.
Oh, right.
When he finds the.
I don't remember that bit.
He finds there's like this bit, and they're on the.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Yeah, he finds all these eggs.
Mm.
It's like a laser sort of shining above them.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
And he goes to examine one of these eggs, and he looks inside, and you see this thing sort of mushing around.
Ridley Scott's hand.
It's Ridley Scott Ridley Scott wearing a pair of marigolds.
Well, it was a cheap production, wasn't it? Yeah.
So your father was all in film and stuff like that.
It was a news film cameraman in the end, really. But
and you did,
sorry, go on.
You said so. So you did the trailer for the
Kids Are All Right.
Kids Are All Right.
And Porridge.
Which is
You did Porridge.
And a thing called Odds and Evens.
So these are probably on YouTube.
Porridge certainly will be. And I could tell you.
I've seen the Porridge movie.
Cool.
It's great, isn't it?
Cool.
So you did the trailer for
fine.
the Porridge movie.
Yeah, but I saw the first copy.
But it's all right. It's coming out good. There's a place inside my head.
It's his
There's the porridge, the theme tune.
He's got it. He's got it memorised.
But
Beamish has got it memorised.
I wasn't too impressed because I saw it. First of all, I saw it in a viewing theatre. It might have been just me or me with one other person.
Did you get on well with your parents?
Yeah,
Always.
but well, my mother was. It was like Mike's mother, you know. She really was very special. My father was difficult, and he cared for us greatly, and he loved to drive us anywhere, you know, trips to this, that, and the other, beauty spot, blah blah blah.
But distant, but always, but
Distant and difficult, you know. It was never quite good enough for something, you know. Oh no, not always. He'd be very proud of certain things, but just difficult.
What about when the? I mean, if I'm going too far, tell me. But what about when it emerged that you were always going to be a bachelor boy?
What, gay?
Yeah.
Oh well, that was funny too, because they're both seasoned people. My mother was in the WRAF. She grew up in Newcastle. So, you know, different things she'd seen over the years. And my father, news film camera, for fuck's sake, you know,
It's not an issue then.
well, it was with her. She said, if you do one thing for me, never tell your father about this. So that was a huge weight on me for 20 years, you see. I mean, depression, it just wasn't good.
Right.
And in the end, we were on holiday in Wales, and I said, Dad, I'm gay. I said, fair enough, anyone want a cup of tea, you know? I mean, he'd say, oh, you know, he was filming John Schlesinger doing a film. He said, well, his camp is a row of tents, but so what? You know, he was on Christmas Island with 1,000 American servicemen.
Your father?
Yeah.
He was on Christmas Island for the atom bomb?
He filmed the H-bomb test, yeah.
Wow.
Filmed them.
Yeah, he was a news film cameraman.
That's amazing. So every time we see that bit of film...
Yeah, well, there'd be other cameramen. I mean, you never know.
But it could possibly have been your dad.
Could be. You see, he worked for...
Did he get any... Because a lot of the people that were on those islands had...
yeah, they did, didn't they? No, he was lucky with that. He had a thing that go jaundice or something where you go yellow, but I don't think that's anything to do with that. And he came over that. He overcame that. But just the Jerry Anderson thing, Anderson did ask him to come back for something like Joe 90 as lighting cameraman.
Yeah.
And my dad said, no thanks, I'd
said,
like to be...
My wife's already given birth to Joe 90.
No, I mean, he'd just like to be out and about. But he said, no, being stuck in a film studio all day just wasn't him.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah.
That's an interesting juncture.
And on that note, we might as well close the book now, so it's all
Okay.
done. Now, then we walked on to the Virginia... the next significant thing was the Virginia Settlers Memorial. Now, it was dark by now, wasn't it? It got dark.
It's lovely, yes.
And we were opposite the...
we were opposite the Millennium Dome.
Well, what used to be called the Millennium Dome. It's not called that anymore.
Oh,
The
what's it
O2.
called? O2, right.
Which again looked like a bloody giant mushroom.
And
And your pith helmet, really.
Yeah,
as
so
well,
this
yes.
is
So this mushroom theme kept
it did.
popping up.
It did.
Yes.
It did.
Yes,
Like
it
kept
looked
popping up like a mushroom overnight.
It looked like a sci-fi mushroom. And then there were other things popping out of the ground
Oh, yeah.
that looked like mushrooms. All these disused bits of metal that I think you would have tied boats to or whatnot.
Yeah.
Right.
The whole place was
looked
littered
like
with mushrooms.
Mushroom paraphernalia.
Yeah.
And then we got to the Virginia Settlers Memorial. For Americans in particular, this is an important marker where near here a small group of 105 adventurers set sail from Blackwall in December 1606. That's in Elizabeth I's reign. They established the first colony in Virginia, Jamestown. That's why it's called Virginia, because she was the Virgin Queen. 14 years before the more famous Mayflower would land in Massachusetts. One of the three ships was called the Discovery and captained by John Smith. He was famously saved by Pocahontas after being captured by her tribe whilst on an expedition in the new colony. The memorial dates from 1928 and was originally part of the wall of a building that stood nearby. So, that was interesting. That's what it looks like in daylight.
Wow.
We stood
Yeah.
there and we did some photos. You took
We did.
Couple
Yes.
of
Yes. Yes.
The East India export dock was a little inland from here to give you a sense of how long it was. The housing to your right. Many of the names for these new residential blocks reflect the area's history: Settlers' Court, Pilgrims' Mews, Adventurers' Court. The area now is very quiet and a little soulless. Certainly, if dockers from the 1850s could be transported through time to this spot, they would have difficulty recognising anything except the Thames itself, and would struggle to find any pubs. This is not just a joke. For many locals, drinking beer after a day's work on the docks is probably safer than drinking the water. One newspaper in September 1849 reports the state of the water supply as black and offensive in the extreme, and in 14 houses in that locality there had been no less than 6 deaths within a few days. And then we had to double back on ourselves, and do you remember crossing over the dock basin lock gates? That's what it looks like.
Oh
in
yeah.
daylight.
Oh
yes,
yes.
but we
Yes.
did it in
Yes.
pitch-
Yes.
In the pitch dark.
Yes.
dark.
Yes.
Yeah, we were like special forces crossing over that. That was quite exciting. Miss X had gone for a wee in a corner in some.
You
corner
remember
of
these
the
incidents? Yes. This is all registered, isn't it? She went for a week. Is this a terrible thing?
No, it's not terrible. No, but at this point there was tensions had began to
Ah.
rise.
See, I hadn't noticed all this.
When I remember distinctly, because I made a joke. It was meant as a joke that
You had a go at my hat.
Baleful's hat looked like the Millennium Dome.
Yeah.
I don't see anything at all
Mm.
hostile in the
No.
comment. It was just meant in light humour.
Of course.
You say
Yeah.
your stupid hat.
Did I?
It's all
Yeah.
coming
By
out
this
now.
point, we'd had a few drinks, and okay, maybe I did. I can't
uh-huh.
remember saying that, but anyway, all I was trying to point
Which
out.
I just batted off. It was
Of
mushrooms.
course.
It was mushrooms off a
Donada, yeah.
off a gnome's back. To
Yes.
So, yeah, I wasn't aware that I said that's stupid out. I thought I just said your hat. But anyway, yeah, this is when sort of tension started to rise.
No, but you got tense because I didn't believe you when you said that nowadays people can walk up that blue thing and walk.
Yes, that was it. This is a thing that has become in recent times. People walk on over the Millennium Dome.
The
And
mushroom dome.
It's like a kind of like a hiking sort of thing, and they go over the actual dome itself, and there's a walkway. It's like a blue walkway that's lit up at night to show where that bit is, where they walk over it. And you didn't believe me.
No, I didn't.
There's nothing wrong with liking mushrooms. It just shows you're a fun guy.
And here was another thing that got my goat as well. Here he says, around this area there is an intriguing metal memorial nearby, and he quotes, marking the year 2000, on which the names and aspirations for the future of several people are inscribed. And then he goes like this, somewhat bitterly. Well, not bitterly, but somewhat like taking the piss. He goes, I wonder how many lived up to their expectations in the years that followed, or come back to remind themselves of their promises. M.G. Nasreddin, I will forever be close to my beloved best friend, Shihab Ridar. Good old English names. But anyway. But it's not that, it's this tone of like,
What's the point of mentioning that anyway?
disbelief.
Doesn't mean anything. The other thing that I was trying to point out to everyone at this point on this walk was that the sculptor Richard Wilson, who both you and Nick, when I mentioned that, they thought I was talking about the guy from, what's his name? 1 Foot in the Grave.
1 Foot in the Grave.
Yeah. And I didn't.
I don't believe it.
Yes, you did. And anyway, I meant the British sculptor Richard Wilson, who's got a studio down by the Millennium Dome, which is a slice of a ship. It's like his studio is like, imagine if you got a ship and sliced it into kind of like sliced bread. He lives and works in one little slice of a ship, and that's all that's sticking up out of the water. It's just this one slice of a ship. It's quite weird to look at.
But did we see it?
If it was daylight, you would have seen it. I was trying to see it, but it was pitch black.
Okay.
And I wanted everyone to.
Right.
I thought we were going to walk past it at some
Right.
point,
Right.
but yeah, no one seemed to be that interested, and I think that's added to the tension.
Yes, I feel like there was a lot of mixed signals going on around this point. We got to a spot called Orchard Place where I began to suspect, because I knew. I'll wait for Nick to get back. It got to a certain spot. We're walking along. It's so dark. We're coming up to a place called Orchard Place. Now I'm struggling as it happens. I always get to a point before I got my compass where I have to struggle with like where. There's always a difficult moment.
I've noticed that on your things. There is a difficult moment. Yeah.
Right, but you people were hanging back so much. I knew for a fact that Miss X had drugs on her.
Oh.
And I began to suspect that you were sniffing speed.
So that's what it was.
Oh, if only I'd known. No, I don't take drugs at the moment. Yeah.
No, but I know.
Now, were you taking the speed?
I don't want to be.
You were.
No, I don't want.
You were.
No,
Is this still on?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's recording now.
Please.
No, but look, listen. There was no speed anyway. She didn't have any drugs. I know.
When I spoke to her on the phone, she said to me, "Shall I bring my speed? Do you want some speed?" And I said, "I don't take
I know
drugs."
she's very fond of drugs, but I certainly didn't partake of anything on that walk. Oh, so that's what it is. You thought we were getting high and we were taking the piss. That's not right.
Well, surely she would have been faster then. You're saying she was hanging back. I mean, surely she'd be gabbling away and going much faster.
I began. Well, no, you'd sort of become a kind of a turtle together and make a little gang. And me not taking the drugs would make me the other, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Right.
I began
Well, that
to
never
suspect.
happened. That was all in your head.
That was in your head.
Well, you say that, but was this in my head? We got to a certain place called Orchard Place. This area was once called Orchard Place after Orchard House. I wonder if you'll remember this. A tavern or tippling house located here in the late 17th century. Later shipyards were built here as well as warehouses for the docks and factories of various industries. Between 1820 and 1930 there was a village here on Orchard Place with a chapel, school and several pubs. Everyone in the village worked in the local industries established in this isolated spot. However, it was a difficult place for a community to settle due to frequent flooding from the Thames. This contributed to the village's decline as it gradually degenerated into a slum. In 1890, a local priest, the suitably named Father Lawless, spoke of the locals as
The mushroom people.
hardly human,
yes,
incarnate mushrooms.
Incredible, wasn't it?
God must have made a mistake in creating them.
It's very weird.
Again with the
mushroom motifs, yes.
Mushroom motif.
The whole thing.
And the mushrooms were actually springing up all over the place during this walk. I mean, not metaphorically, but I mean...
Unused objects sprouting out of the ground.
Yeah, no, but they were. There were lots of mushrooms as we
Yeah.
walked along.
Yeah.
Oh yes, they were. Oh yes, yes. There was also the actual mushrooms.
Yeah. And you know, I did send you a mushroom symbol on the text, didn't I?
Ah,
Before the
Yes,
walk.
because you're talking about what are they called?
before the walk.
Before the
In
walk.
performance, what they take the mushroom.
Yeah.
What's it
Before
called?
the bloody
Amanita
walk.
muscara.
Yeah.
If you hadn't sent that, we might be reading a very different book right now with no mention. Maybe
History,
that sorted out the
forking paths,
timeline.
isn't
You chose the timeline.
Borges, you know, Garden of Forking Paths. It's just all
It's
history.
very to swear. Right? Yeah, come on.
Garden of Forking walkways, then, if you don't like paths, anyway.
God must have made incarnate mushrooms. God must have made a mistake in creating them. Orchard Place was remote and isolated, and interbreeding was common. In 1930, it was reported that 100 out of the 160 local school children had the same surname, Lamin.
Lamin.
Without the G, I think.
Lammin. The whole village was moved to Poplar in the 1930s, another community confined to the history books. So that was one of my, that was one of my favourite things to find out.
He knows his mushrooms.
Fungus talk to each other.
Yes.
With electrical
Well,
signals.
some people think that they come from another planet.
I do.
Really?
I think they're them and the octopi.
Yeah, they think they're. There's nothing like them. There's nothing else like them on the planet.
So if one or either of you want that one, because I think he's probably. I'm going to say.
I'll let Simon have it because I'm stuck into my. I'm reading Mallory in the original Middle English right now.
Blimey.
Complete works. Yeah,
Actually, I know the name Mallory, but what?
He's the guy that wrote the. He's the guy that did the King Arthur that finally broke King Arthur and to make it into a mass kind of popular
Oh, of
thing
course,
in
right.
He wrote
Mort,
it in.
Mort Darther, then?
Yes, yeah, he wrote it
Okay.
in prison.
Oh, what was he
he's
in prison for?
Because he was a rebel. He was always like he got in prison a few times. It was actually. I think he was stitched up for rape a couple of times.
God.
And fighting against the king and stuff like this. And he's got quite a story. And
Wow.
so, but it was his version of the King Arthur story. There was a lot of versions of it knocking around, but it's his one that finally made it into a very popular piece of work. But only 200 years after it died. Of course.
Oh.
Yeah, in his own time.
Oh dear.
He wrote it in
Typical,
prison.
isn't it?
Has something to do.
Typical.
And there's only 200 years after his death, his version is the one that became the popular one that made it into a fable that everybody
Sure.
sort of
Then
loved.
T.H. White, of course, in the present day. Sword in the Stone.
Yeah, oh, that's all in it. Yeah. And
Anyway.
I could talk about that for a long time. But, so then we got to the Bowe Creek Lighthouse, and the next big thing was the Fat Boy Diner where we sat down.
Yes.
Now everything was lovely at the Fat Boy Diner.
Yeah,
Except the fact it was closed. We were gonna have a-
Closed because that was going to be my treat.
He promised us a treat.
That was going to be my treat.
He knew.
I
did
looking
not
forward
know. I
to-
did
No,
not
I'm joking.
know.
I was
Joking.
looking forward
I know you
to
do. No, I'm joking. I'm
yeah,
joking.
the Fat Boys Diner is like a straight out of the, Americana kind of 1950s like burger joint, but sitting on this this weird isolated part of London, which is a scene to see in itself. But we were promised
It was nice,
a
wasn't it?
fast food meal,
Stop,
which didn't
stop.
arrive.
Please.
I longed to purchase everybody whatever they wanted at the Fat Boy Diner, but it was shut. But I guarantee if we hadn't had that 45-minute delay while your vape was searched for, Beamish, then we could have had...
There was a minor delay with us going to get the comestibles,
Yes.
wasn't
That's
there?
what we're talking about.
Oh, was it because you wanted the vape? That's right.
Yes.
But we got
It was
something.
no trouble getting the vape, was it?
Vape? No, there was trouble. There was something. The flavour was okay. Something held us up with the vape.
Right,
Something.
Okay. All right. We'll never know.
You didn't look of age?
Could have been that. Yeah.
There's a museum that was dedicated, called the Faraday Effect, dedicated to all of that, but by now
Oh yeah.
it was too late
It
by
was
then.
dark now. It was really
It
dark.
was dark and that was shut.
The only lights we had were the buoys on the.
We saw
river.
the only lighthouse
Yes,
in
there was a
London. That
lighthouse.
was quite nice. There was the.
know there was
She thought it was a bit short then, and she thought it was funny because it was
That's
quite
right.
short.
Yeah.
Only because she's tall. And then there was the red boat that's now a recording studio. The brightly painted LV-95 is a reliable site, having been built to withstand the harshest of maritime conditions. Seems destined to remain a permanent feature of the industrial landscape. If you go to the south side and walk... so dear listener, I'm skipping a few as always, and to new listeners, I'm skipping a new things, not because they're boring, but for brevity's sake. And the thing is, these walk talks can never be quite as action-packed,
And doing the
potentially, as the actual
walk itself.
Yes. There was lots of stuff about old writing on the walls, advertising and stuff.
Oh yes.
That was all really good. And then we were coming back round on ourselves, I suppose, and I sang a song to some Chinese people over the road, and they knew the exact song and danced it back at me. Can't remember.
You
what
made
it
them
was.
very happy.
Yes, what was it?
And
I
I'm
can't
dancing.
remember now for the life of me what it was.
Yes, I remember that. I was quite drunk by this point.
Which we are coming to a close now. We found a pub. I danced around you all in a shamanic manner.
Yeah, no, he started doing, what was it?
Because I went to get some drinks.
I want to be like you.
I think I missed
And
it.
it's getting like really like.
Yeah, bare necessities.
I missed this. Yeah.
Bare necessities.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
my favourite. I love the jungle.
So he
I
started-
love it.
So
I
he
love
started
it.
doing
I
that,
love
but
it,
I thought, because this is what I thought. I thought, oh right, he's doing that because he wants to. He's like, the orangutan
Yeah.
in Jungle Book.
Yeah.
Like he's taking the piss out of my red hair because he thinks I'm the orangutan. He's
No,
going,
no.
I want to be like you.
Not
But
at all.
I kept firm and I just thought, yeah, he's the stupid
See,
one.
this is where it's all
He's the
falling.
stupid one.
This is where it's all falling.
Alcohol is not to blame for any of this,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah.
Apart. This is where it's all falling apart.
Yes.
I was just doing it because suddenly I was like, it's Halloween, and the Jungle Book is my favourite musical of all time. And I just wanted
There's
to
no
do
law
the-
against that. Yeah.
No law against
Yeah.
that. There is no law against
So
that.
anyway.
Shamanic dancing, isn't it? So what? Big
Yeah.
deal.
Well, I don't know.
So why the fireworks?
I just
We
thought
got to then we got to the pub, dear listener, and it all fucking went tits up, basically.
Why though?
I was buying
you let
drinks.
rip on Miss X.
I remember coming out of the. Now I may have said. I know that I did make a joke saying I don't want to sit next to you.
Oh
That's
God.
right. Yeah.
Now I don't know if I said that
But
before or after.
she was very hurt by all this. You must have realised.
Before or
She was
after.
tearful at this point.
Yes, this is.
She got very, very emotional.
No, but was
yeah.
that before or after? I came out of the pub and I heard her talking to you, saying, "Oh, here he comes! Don't say anything now." And I was like, "Oh, they're all on drugs. They're all taking drugs, and I'm not on the drugs."
How deluded you were.
Yeah.
Now, my joke about I don't want to sit next to you, that might be a little bit. Well, look, I take full responsibility because I believe feng shui wise, I took the wrong position. I sort of seen. Look, anyway, it all just went mental.
Well, this bit you better just.
No,
So all right, okay. So I won't
Oh,
say what I was going to say.
let's
okay.
let's hand over and give other people's perception of what
mm.
happened, because I'm interested.
Right. Well, I don't know. Talking about this tension building, when I made the hat comment at the when we were opposite the Millennium Dome, there was already this sort of like back and forth between you and Miss X, and it was seemed to be getting more and more, I don't know, sort of personal and hostile. And so by the time we sat down for the drink, yeah, she was crying, and you were. I don't know why you assumed that we were all like dipping into a bag of speed. It's really crazy.
She was crying by the time we sat down,
Yeah,
even before we sat
she was
down.
just, well, yeah, because she couldn't believe like that you'd been so horrible to her, and we were trying to sort of console her. And anyway, remember, then these Chinese people walked past,
But that
and you go, "Don't you like Chinese people? I used to spin them round on my cock."
Oh, that.
Yes.
Oh, that. Yes.
And then you started going on about this weird thing about Chinese people. And
So I thought it was just like going into a Pete and Dud routine. I just thought this was all daft and kind of like free association daftness,
I really
humour,
didn't- well, yeah,
humour.
I
So
was-
I just.
that's what I did. And then
yeah.
to counteract this kind of
you
abuse,
stood
then I
up.
stood up and like just gave him like 100% back what he was doing to me.
Right.
And I thought, okay, this is the way it's going. We're just going to continue in this vein. But
Oh my god.
yeah, and then you just sort of decided that you'd had enough and you stormed off.
Sounds like if it weren't for the walks, I'd be thoroughly enjoying it.
And then you just had a hissy fit and just
I
stormed
didn't have
off,
a hit.
didn't you?
No, I just thought even if it all settles down, it's going to blow up again. This is not going to get any better.
Right.
And what frightened me was
Mm.
I actually felt violent,
Okay.
and I just thought,
Well, it's understandable.
get
Yeah.
out of here,
Sure.
because this is not
Sure.
going to get better.
No.
You know.
Well, that was wise that you did then.
Now, is it all because of the mushrooms?
But you didn't take any mushrooms.
We were taking mushrooms the whole bloody walk.
Yeah.
Well, something in the crisps, you
The,
mean?
the spirit of the mushroom.
The spirit
was,
of the
was,
mushroom.
was with us at all time.
Okay. Anyway, it was memorable.
Yeah, I think it definitely was memorable.
But I'd advise you to get a police camera thing next time, and just everything is verbally and visually recorded. You said this. You
Uncle
took
on
a
my
breath
shoulder.
on your shoulder, yeah.
Uncle,
yeah.
uncle,
Uncle on my shoulder. It's a prehistoric term.
But to get back to the walk, as I was trying to have a serious discussion about the walk, but nobody wanted to have it with me.
We were all
Because
just
they-
having
you
a
were
drink.
jumping around singing, ooh, 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 I want to be like you.
No, but that was brilliant.
Yeah, but that's not a serious discussion about the walk.
That was before we got. That was before. That was me celebrating the end of the walk,
Oh.
and then we got to the pub and we sat down, and I was trying to say things like.
You're trying to say things like,
For me, that-
I'd spin
that
that
was a
Chinese
walk.
bloke around my cock. That's what I used to do when Diana died,
Yeah.
and all
No,
those
that was a
stuff.
Japanese bloke.
Oh right, well,
That was a Japanese
okay,
bloke.
sorry.
And a Japanese, he was
Yeah.
sucking my
I do
cock.
apologise.
So I thought we were
And,
getting into lobsters on the bum territory. You see.
No,
What's the
but
worst job you ever had?
I was
Something
trying
like
to
that.
say that I felt that this walk was not so much about history, not about legacy, but more about location, so to speak. As it is a lovely walk along the river.
You,
blah,
you
blah,
missed
blah.
out Dr. John D though, didn't
Well, that was a different walk, and then I'd look at
Well, it was
people,
this
and all I was
walk,
getting
wasn't
was
you?
cold.
Talked about D. Was
Oh
that
no,
so?
it's mentioned
I
that
was
we've
getting-
done one.
Oh, okay, I'm
We've
sorry.
done
And
that.
I
do
was
beg
just
your
getting
pardon.
cold looks back at me, like.
Oh.
Yeah, because we just thought, what the fuck's wrong with him?
Well, it's because I've gone. Ooh, ooh, ooh! I want to be like you. Ooh, ooh.
What's your...
It's one of the greatest songs ever written, isn't it?
And who wrote it? You see, we do this. Who wrote the lyrics? Who wrote the tune? We forget these things.
Who
I
gives a
don't know.
fuck?
I don't know. But someone sweated away. Probably the Sherman Brothers, because they did Mary Poppins. It's your favourite song with all your so-and-so. You don't know who wrote it.
No, my favourite one.
I
is
don't know who
do,
wrote it.
do,
Possibly
do,
Simon does.
Darren
Darren is a film.
The Elephants. Is my
You see, you're
favourite
moving
one.
the spotlight now.
No, I'm just telling you my favourite.
It's your
one
favourite
from
song,
that.
but you
But
don't know who wrote
music.
it.
Nobody does. I can
Do it
Google it.
now. That's what Google's for.
So don't demand. Jungle Book. Who wrote the Jungle Book?
Your
music?
favourite song.
Well, no, whoever wrote it would have written all of them, wouldn't they?
Not necessarily.
Oh, your favourite, one of your favourite songs in the world. I mean the favourite song in the film. Obviously, they're all your favourite songs, but I mean,
No, there could be multiple songs in it written by different people.
of course they could.
Who wrote Jungle Book
I want to be like you.
music?
You probably no.
Who wrote Jungle Book music? Elton John,
No.
George Burns, and Terry Gillickson.
Blimey.
George
Trust-
Burns.
The
not-
Sherman Brothers was Trust in Me. Is that
Ah.
who you just said?
Yeah, but that was Trust in Me. I thought they wrote the whole thing.
No.
Ah, no, you've got various different people.
Okay.
You've got, the film score was composed by George Burns with songs written by Terry Gillickson and the Sherman Brothers.
There.
So there you are. It's one of the best albums of all time.
It's brilliant.
Trust in Me. Every song, everyone's a
Bare
classic.
necessities.
Bare
Bare
necessities.
necessities of life.
See,
will
that's the
come
one
to
I was
you.
aiming for. That's what I meant to do.
Well, why didn't you do that then?
Because I couldn't. Because it's
That probably frustrated
There's a
you,
Martell.
and that's it. You're searching for that song.
yes.
And then
And then I came up with the ginger one. The
See, he wants to be a ginger. That's what the rub is.
Yeah.
No, what I was really saying was that Simon wants to be like us, non. That's where he gets it. That's where I got his. That's what he got his back up. Meanwhile, Lanky Chops, Miss X, is tearful
Crying.
for crying for.
you're
I-
speaking about
A very
Someone
good friend
that works. I've never met her before. She works. Turns out she works with one of my best friend's half brother.
Tell us, because we don't fucking know.
She works with Tony, one-armed Tony from Soho, runs the Soho Museum.
One-armed Tony?
Yes, one-armed Tony. He runs the
No,
Soho
that's what
Museum
she
of
said, no,
Soho.
She does the clock.
She does the clock
She does
in
the clock,
beside Richard's studio.
Yes.
It's out of the studio, and my
So
best.
this is all your secret conversations you were having.
No, this all happened afterwards because you'd made such a display. It kind of bonded us much more. So we started sharing like anecdotes.
Rebellion in the ranks.
Yeah.
Yes. But anyway, so one of my best friends in the world, Andy, who used to run sex shops, and he's repairs pubs in the Soho area, and he used to drummed with Sammy Davis Jr. and 10cc as a replacement, just a fill-in drummer.
But she winds the clock.
She winds the clock, but
And that's a job,
this
is it?
no
Well, she
Andy.
gets paid for
Andy, English Andy, he has Maltese relations, whatever. It turns out that one-armed Tony found out a few months ago is his half brother, and they've been friends for years. How about that? But she works with one-armed Tony voluntarily.
Voluntarily. I think she winds the clock voluntarily. It's all volunteer work.
Okay. Yeah.
But there was a lot of wind-up going on that evening.
Yeah, you know, what can you say?
I'm looking forward to the next one, though.